Today I wanted to talk about a little something that I actually get questions about a lot, about what I would tell people who are enthusiasts about the paranormal, but they're not involved in the field. They haven't gone on any investigations, they're not investigators, they watch paranormal TV, they read ghost stories, that kind of thing. I just kind of have narrowed down top 10 of things to remember about paranormal investigation. And there are a lot of things to look at when you're mostly an outsider of the paranormal field. It doesn't matter if you've been studying the books or reading what people have to say on websites and forums. It's much easier to understand the field if you are an active participant, as in, you've been to a few investigations, you know to handle at least a few pieces of equipment, a few techniques, whatever. This is not really an insult to you as one who watches TV or reads ghost stories and hasn't been on an investigation. It's simply just something for you to think about, and maybe it might even inspire you to try and take a step forward and get into it like I have. First thing, I would like you to remember it's not like television. At least not in the idea of how time works. An hour-long paranormal show will look as if they've got everything done in very little time. But in reality, setup takes an hour or 2 hours at most. The investigation will run between 8, 10, 12, or 14 hours. Sometimes teams actually do take days to run an investigation. And then wrap up and tear down can take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depending on how much equipment you have. You always have to account for how many team members you got with you and how many groups you want to utilize, whatever. There are a lot of factors to be aware of that will affect your time usage and your overall investigation time. Second thing, we do not encounter demons 100% of the time. I hate this assumption because demonic entities always have to get lumped in with ordinary human spirits in the media. But it also gives the idea that paranormal investigation is dangerous. It really isn't. Granted, if you're investigating a run-down old building, you will need to be careful and be aware of debris or caving floors as you move about. But for the most part, you're investigating ordinary houses. But demonic activity is extremely rare, much rarer than the media will have you think. There are negative entities, but these are mostly what I call corrupted spirits, not demons. Demonic entities are non-human. The third thing, setting up an investigation is not always easy. A residential investigation will usually take a week to plan, so we like to give ourselves 3 weeks before an investigation, unless it's an emergency. Most large-scale investigations take much more planning. The most we've waited to do an investigation is a year, when we went to the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. We waited maybe 5 or 6 months before the last one for our schoolhouse. But for the most part, we do our best to be at our client's home as quickly as we can manage it. Remember, though, that it takes gathering an available group from the team, pooling paperwork, pooling resources, and planning who drives. Lots and lots of factors go into the actual planning, and it's not just that we grab our equipment and arrive at your team like the Scooby Gang. 4. The investigation is the fun part. There are lots of responsibilities prior and afterward, including compiling paperwork, compiling case notes, reviewing evidence, and arranging to meet with clients to go over evidence caught. This takes a lot more time than television will have you think. The fact that everyone on our team has jobs, kids, and other life responsibilities means that not everyone can participate, so sometimes the responsibilities fall to a certain core team. 5. Lots of what we do involves helping our clients learn to help themselves in many ways, from cleansings to taking care of any abilities they have to knowing what resources they've got. Our main focus is taking care of our clients, no matter what happens. On large-scale investigations, it's a good way to grow in our abilities and skills in the field. And they're also awesome for training our new investigators. But nothing compares to the feeling of knowing that we did something to help our clients in a time of confusion and fear. 6th, This is a biggie, guys. We are not paid. We mostly consider legitimate teams to be driven by freely given donations. Otherwise, everything else comes from out-of-pocket expense. The lucky few on television who are paid for what they do are not paid by clients. They are paid by the television network that produces the show. This is essentially a volunteer field. 7. The unseen is a non-quantifiable thing, and we have very little reliable equipment with which to capture evidence that may or not be truly paranormal. There are lots of ifs within this field, and the entire reason that we continue to investigate, develop equipment, and discuss the paranormal is because we want to figure out a way to scientifically quantify and thereby prove the existence of ghosts. Currently, however, all we can really rely on is video and still cameras, audio recorders, and our senses. 8. Investigators often rely on instincts and follow them closely in order to figure out what's really going on. This includes non-paranormal things like plumbing issues and electricity anomalies. People hoping for a haunting will be extremely disappointed, especially if they have brought in experienced investigators with a good skepticism and debunking skills. Remember that the more reliable teams will go about certain experiments to figure out whether the activity is caused by a natural cause or a not so natural cause, and they will record everything. 9. Normal teams do not get sponsored, and trust me, equipment is extremely expensive. Considering the cost of things like a DVR system, K2 meters, and other tools, our team has most likely spent over $5,000 just on equipment, never mind what it takes to upkeep the equipment. Basically, tapes for our old Hi8 camera, which are pretty much obsolete and I can't find them anywhere now. Rechargeable and non-rechargeable batteries, cable replacements, repair. There's more. This field is expensive, and this is why so many people ask us if we are crazy, since we don't charge for our services. 10. And lastly, we do this for 2 reasons mainly: public service and science. Our main purpose is to provide a service for our clients as well as public education in order to help people figure out certain things for themselves. We provide resources, we write blogs, we contribute to e-zines and magazines, and we generally work really hard in order to make the information and resources people may need publicly available. As for the science, that's far more difficult, and it's something we have to strive for with each investigation. Often, the scientific part of the field is easier to feed while we're doing non-residential investigations, since residential investigations are far more involved with public service. Either way, people form paranormal teams to help others as well as themselves find out the truth about the paranormal. Despite the bad reputation the paranormal field often gets, there is really a very small percentage of people taking up the mantle of paranormal investigators simply to pull scams, get rich, or get famous. I could probably write pages and talk spools of tape regarding the things outsiders tend not to know about the paranormal field. But then I would probably exhaust my ideas for future blogs and blog posts. There's so much to explore in the paranormal field, and so much yet to be done, and writing about it isn't going to satisfy much but my need to document it. I just kind of wanted this to be a sort of PSA sort of idea about what we're really doing in this field. Because I get a lot of people who really don't understand why a 26-year-old woman would spend so much time from what they think obsessing over things that they think don't exist. I hope that this answered a few questions, and I'll try to make another vlog soon.